Well, hello, Nadine.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, and you?
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Well, yeah. Is it about 7:30?
It looks that way.
Okay. All right. Let's. And I did hit the record button, so for the, I will forward this out or push it out late tonight or early in the morning. Two things. Obviously, next week is the 4th of July, and we do not have class on the 4th of July. That means we won't be meeting, but, and I repeat, but you need to keep working. This is the 6th week out of 10. So the clock is ticking. Now, I think I uncovered something today. One of you had sent me 2 written peer reviews, and you put them on the same week. So I'm going to make sure that I tell you in class, and it's being recorded. In order to get credit for both of those Zoom videos or both of those written peer reviews, you're going to need to post them in 2 times. I'm going to try after we finish tonight to see if I can go back and open up your work, and if I can just go ahead and issue the form. But I'll give you a confirmation email either way on that situation. All right, so we talked about the multiple written or the multiple Zoom reviews and what I need to do in order to give you points, and those are heavy points. Those were 4 points a pop. Most of you over the last couple of days have been working extremely hard. I've noticed that the quantity of work has definitely increased. So keep moving. I can only assume, and I'm trying to be careful with that word, that you are working in those 4 tasks within the AppTel, and you're moving in the direction of having your clinical coach look at it before you submit it for an evaluation. Okay, that ends the nuts and the bolts part of the process. Let's talk about Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. They're both forms or types of research. Chapter 9 is descriptive research. Now, it's a simple concept. Y'all do it all the time. It's basically you identify the characteristics at a moment or over a period of time. You don't lay blame, guilt, or why it was successful. You just make a note that you did this and it was very successful, either a class or a unit or over some period of time. Now, one thing that might be a representative of a descriptive research project would be a Gallup poll or the work that's done by NAEP. And I know you elementary types are familiar with that group. So what do you do when you have some descriptive research? How do you go back and analyze it? That's a different topic. So it shows, if you look at the prescriptive research, what went right, what went wrong. It shows problems, opinions, and academic achievement. And I know you're involved in that when you look at your test scores at either the end of the 9 weeks or end of the school year for the standardized test. What do you think about descriptive research? And I know that you're all doing something, the majority of you are doing something in research as far as it covers something at your school and how you're looking at it and what you plan to do with it. I mean, you will, first of all, will catch your eye when something looks good or something looks like it's getting worse. And then the next level of interest should be where it kicks in and you talk about, well, what do you think did this? What was this so successful for? Or why did it not be as successful as you thought? So I know that's a lot of what you do at your school. In Chapter 10, it goes to a different level where it refers to group research. I mean, I know you get your results back on your classes and your individual schools, students, individuals' work, success or not, but at the same time, you get a group analysis report as to what was successful or was not. It basically covers the ability for one to look at something that has occurred over a period of time in an educational practice. So what does that mean in English? Most of these, and then the problem becomes, you know what's wrong, and then you quickly find out what happens if you don't address those problems and fix those problems. So there are different parts of looking at group research or analyzing group research at that level. In doing this type of research, they're basically, in this part, there are 4 parts. You need, and I know you've done this when you did your APSL. You first listed why is this study important? There had to have been a reason that caught your eye as to, this looks odd, this looks funny, this is what has caught the attention of your PLC. And then after you determine what caught your attention, you narrow it down to what is your specific research problem? What do you plan to do? How do you plan to do it? What are the variables that you're looking at? Every student in this person's class or this person's class for the entire 3rd grade or 2nd grade or something like that. And then you stop with the last part of the investigative piece of this research project by looking at what does the literature say. And my guess is based on your written reviews or your peer reviews, you're going to talk about what the research is saying or who said this and who said that and how does it tie into your project. Now, I need to remind you, in case we lose the internet connection, just wait a couple of seconds, know, we went down, we've gone down for the last 2 or 3 times, and it does appear to come back. So we're talking about the different phases and how you got involved in your apps. What caught your attention, what you would like to do, and then what supports what you want to do in the fourth part by what does the literature say. And you and I both know there's more research out there on things going on in public schools today that you can keep up with. You basically, when you're doing your project, how many people are doing it at a grade level at your particular school? And say, for conversation purposes, either math or language arts. Anybody doing something like that? No. Nadine, what are you working on?
For my AppTel and my AppSel, I was working on special ed, basically.
Okay, and what are you trying to show has occurred, and what do you want to improve on?
So what the plan is to improve on is that we'll be able to increase scores of all the special ed students by 10%.
Okay, and are you doing it across the board with all ECs or a particular group of ECs?
Well, I would say if we're going to do it's 3 through 5.
Okay, and that's every exceptionality category, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It doesn't include 504s, just EC.
I got you. Okay, so you've narrowed it down to a particular group and 3 different grade levels, correct? So she's narrowed her parameters as to improving these scores by a quantitative percent, something that can actually be measured. She's narrowed her band in EC students, not 504s in grades 3 through 5. And then at some point in time, you're going to talk about what you plan to implement for every EC child to increase those scores across the board in 3 through 5. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's a good one. Anybody else got something like that?
I do.
Okay, what you working on, Annie?
We're working on ways to increase our students' 6th through 8th grade EOG scores at the end of the year.
Okay, and are you looking at math or language arts?
Language arts.
Language arts, okay.
We really need it in math as well.
Well, you know, it's a whole lot easier to stay and start small to get one part corrected. You're doing reading, and my guess is, and if I'm talking out of school, you tell me, if you can't read, you can't do math. Does that make any sense? I mean, is reading not?
That is correct.
If reading has to be the genesis of all forms of improvement at the elementary school level. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm not a rocket scientist, and I haven't been out of the world that long that I still remember and know that. If you can't read, what you going to do next? No science, no math, no history, social studies. But that's extremely important. Cindy Lawrence, what are you working on?
For my app, so I focused on, I'm a math teacher, so I focused on basic math facts. I teach 3rd grade, so we're finding that, the kids are coming and they are really still not mastering addition, subtraction. And then as they move on, they're, struggling with multiplication, division.
Sure. Right.
So just that, having that basic recall fluency down so that they're not taking their time when they're applying it to whatever concept they're using. So that's sort of the focus on making sure that every day there's some instruction or some practice at all grade levels.
Okay.
They all need it.
Is anybody in this group a high school teacher? Okay, I was going to say in chapter 10, there's an excellent table and chart based on research data doing a comparison of block scheduling and 7-period day scheduling. for all subject areas. You might want to slow up and go back and look at that chart and see what the current research says, and do note the date of that research material. You know, you really don't need to look at research, and I know this sounds a little backwards, but the stuff that's 10 plus years old really is not cutting edge or is going to help you. It can sort of whet your appetite as to how to focus your intention or your goal in your own research project. But you need to stay within the 10-year parameter or that band for things to stay current and up to date. But that's good. Anybody else? Paula, what are you working on?
I am working on increasing science test scores with reading. I teach fifth grade, and we are a self-contained school. And as a fifth grade teacher, we have to teach all subjects, and 3 of them, of course, are tested: math, reading, and science. And all scores are expected to be great. So to do that, why not incorporate reading and science? They just go hand in hand. So you can get the reading skills with the science concepts, and then allow ourselves another block of time to do the hands-on science things.
Right.
So we're incorporating that just to see, okay, if they're getting basically a double dip in science, is that going to improve science scores and as well as reading scores? Because then they can make the connection.
It sounds logical.
Yes.
What school system are you in?
Pender County.
Pender, and you said y'all are a true inclusive, self-contained fifth grade class where you teach all subjects.
Yes, sir. And we have our kids kind of, there's an AIG class where, you know, those kids get pull out for AIG. We also have EC inclusion. Then we have EC pull out. So scores are always fun to look at when you compare your EC group to that AIG group. And then it's like, you know, they don't have 4s and 5s, but they did make a little growth. But it's just hard. Sometimes you take a little hit.
Nicole, what are you in?
But we don't have that incentive.
You don't have what, Paula?
We don't have that incentive for, you know, extra money.
I understand. Nicole, what are you in McRae working on? Are y'all working on a project together? That would be a no?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But I teach math and McRae teach language arts. So I think you shut us down the first week. So we was doing it gender Pacific. So then we've been teaching boys for the last 3 years. So we was focused on African American boys. So now it's just all 7th grade students increasing their reading and math proficiency on the EOG.
Okay, that sounds logical. Okay, so y'all got a gist as to what you've already been working on and how you've narrowed your scope and sequence down as to what you're studying. And you spent some time doing research, because I've looked at some of your work where you're quoting different articles and in reference to this and in reference to that. And that's what you're supposed to be working on and how you're supposed to be working on it. So after you do all this study and you generate your data, then to close out that section would be where you summarize your findings. I mean, you got to tell us what you came up with. And everything, believe it or not, everything doesn't always have to be positive. The growth, Nadine, doesn't have to be 10%. It could be 2, 3, 4, but it's still movement in the positive direction. It may not be positive. It could be stagnant or at 0 or go, heaven forbid, and this does happen, where it regresses to a negative number. That does occur. Everything doesn't always go positive to the right. It sometimes flukes happen. So that means the next question would be, if it didn't make 10% or if it stayed 0 or regressed, then the next question you're going to be looking at your treatment. Were there any flaws to the treatment? Did you do something that you hadn't planned on doing? Did something happen during the treatment? You're going to look at what they would basically call what issues occurred during your implementation or your treatment. It could be anything from A to Z, and you may not have any type of flaw or with the implementation of what you're trying to work on. And then here's the catcher. Let's suppose you do your project and you want to do what you're doing, what everyone has talked about. The last thing in the chapter, and this basically is in a doctoral research, chapter 5, implications for further studies. So what that means, in just like in English, as it says in the sentence, what do you want to do if this situation presents itself in 3 years? Would you want to do the study over but make some changes? If you were back in Nicole in McCrae's situation, would you want to just do all males? I mean, it basically says we've done this research project based on someone else's work, and now we want to do something else along those same lines. That's chapter 5, which basically means implications for further study. So that's basically where you should be in chapter 9, and then that last one, 10. If you do get a chance, go back to chapter 10 and look at the data, especially where it compares block scheduling and 7-period day scheduling in all the subject areas at the high school. It's interesting reading material, I would tell you that. Since in Raleigh-Wake, do y'all have a lot of block scheduling at the high school, or is it more so 7-period day stuff?
So I can only speak to my high school where
Okay.
my son goes.
Okay.
And block scheduling, I don't think is what they're calling it. They do the semester. So the first half of the year, they have 2 core classes and electives. Then the second half of the year.
Okay, so they have 4 classes total in the fall and 4 different ones in the spring. Okay, if you can hear me, I think we've just lost our signal. Hold on, Nadine. If you're with me, wave. If you can hear me, wave. Okay. We have been cut off. Let's wait a second to see if he comes back. We're coming back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Nadine, we took a little trip, but we came back. I was asking you, in the fall they take 4 courses, and in the spring they take 4?
Right, 2 of them, exactly. So 2 of them are core.
Right.
So, and then the other ones are their elective.
Electives. Okay. Okay. That is a specific version of block schedule.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know how the other schools do it.
Right.
I know our middle school used to do true block schedule.
Are y'all still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else know anything of a feeder school that you either go to from your middle school or elementary to that feeding high school where they're a block or a 7-period day? Some schools are extremely resistant to do it whole system, and I can understand that because some people see it as a drawing card. Some people see it as something negative. I don't know. But you know,
Our
that's
high school in New Hanover County. I teach in New Hanover County, Wilmington, and our high schools are block schedules. I know in particular the one that my son goes to, but I'm pretty sure the other ones too.
Okay.
So they have 4 classes. They can have more than 2 core classes though in a
right.
semester, so they don't necessarily limit them. I know as a freshman, they don't want them to have more than 2 core per semester. But then they also throw in an AB year-long class.
That would be referred to as a hybrid schedule. That is correct,
Yeah.
where they may have a block in one spot, and then this child's taking something for the entire school year. Yes.
Yes. So my son actually had that this year as a sophomore. He had, 2 classes that were AB all year, and then the other 3 were the block for each semester. So.
And as an adult, you and I both will probably, at least I would say it's hard to keep up with, but the child knows what they don't even flinch. They know what day it is and where he's supposed to be. He's not wandering around holding a card trying to figure out where to go. No. All right. Now, let me make sure we all understood. We're not meeting next week, which is the 4th. And after class, and I get this video spinning on this computer, I'm going to go back and see if I can open up you people who have already done some Zoom stuff and some written review stuff where you put up, and like in today's case, one of you posted 2 written reviews in one block. I've got to be able to see if I can open that up or just send out a general email to all of you to say, okay, if you submitted a Zoom and you're Zooming on 1, 2, or 3 people, or you put up a written review and you've done more than one, you're going to need to go back. It's not critical. I can always go behind the green curtain and manipulate. I love this in research. You can always manipulate the data. In other words, I can put the grade where, and the funny thing about this screen is it will show me and show those people at Gardner Webb if you put something in there and I graded it, or if I just put a grade in that spot. So it puts a little asterisk in that spot so that Big Brother's watching everybody, and that's okay. I just want to be fair because those Zooms and those peer reviews written, those are 4 points a pop, and you got 16 of them. Nope. You have 8 of those, and you can do the math. 4 times 8, that's 32 points. So I want to make sure you're ahead of that game. Last thing I'm going to tell you is keep working at the level that most of you are working that are on the screen tonight. There's some people, and I'm going to have to start sending out personal emails. I know some people like to, you're like running around the track in high school. You want to pace yourself and you want to wait for that last burst of energy to go across and grab the end or the ribbon or whatever. But I don't want you to be waiting to hold back. I'm thinking you need to kickstart, and I'm talking to those who put up nothing. You heard what I said, who have put up nothing, and you're waiting for the last 5 weeks of class to jumpstart the process. Do not wait. August the 1st, or I think I have to have my work up by the 3rd at 8 o'clock? Do not wait. The only variable that you truly are not in control of, I'm going to make a statement here again, is doing your 4 tasks within the APTEL, getting it reviewed by your clinical coach, and then moving it off that desk over to the evaluation process. You have no control over that after it leaves your desk for evaluation. But as far as doing that work in a group, doing written reviews of your work, peer-wise, doing a Zoom review of your work, peer-wise, you are in control. Most of you have finished the weekly assignments that you're supposed to have done. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're working on their projects, they're doing Zoom and written reviews, and they're getting ready to move that stuff over to their clinical coach for comments and a possible evaluation. And that should be taking place somewhere around the 2nd week, 3rd week of July. Keep in mind, this is the last time we meet in June. You still have 4 weeks to be working in July, and you got 1 in August. So don't hold back running around the track. You might want to pace yourself. And I know, like in Nadine's case, she's still working and going to be working year round. I don't know if the rest of you, Jeff, I know you're a 12-month employee. That's correct. The rest of you, I don't know if you're a 10 or 11 or what y'all do, but you need to keep doing what you're doing and keep the pace up. And I realize I'm preaching to the choir, and that's why I'm going to have to start sending out individual emails. But this conversation, I don't think fits anyone on the screen tonight, if you catch my drift. I am concerned. But now I also need to tell you the ugly side is during the last semester, one student was issued a C and one failed. So it's up to you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. You can look at your screen every day to keep up with the number of points. I'll send out the grading scale, which is already in your mail's handbook, but it's up to you to keep moving along in your form of self-directed study. Not trying to be harsh. I just want to be a realist and make sure you don't get upset and we have to do something like that. Is this Kevin calling in? McCray, you calling out of the car?
Yes, it is.
See, Nicole, I knew it was him.
Yeah, I'm
See, if he had his cell phone, we could look at him in the car
you
with
heard my loud mouth, huh?
See? Okay. Kevin, I've given a lot of information, but I did hit the record button, so don't panic. It will be out there, but I just want you to keep up doing what you're doing, so your points, and I don't want you to come up short. 2 of you out of this group, because of your previous work in the APTEL, one of you has already finished and earned an A. The other one is real close. But that's because they've already sort of taken part of this class once before in a different lifetime. Makes sense? Didn't know how I was going to work with Jeff and Dante, but what I was told and how to handle it made sense. You know, do this, do that. They got class, but they've already done this once, and they've been graded on it once. It's sort of like taking that Blackboard test. There's no need of taking that twice, was it? No. But you hadn't taken that city training, and some of you still haven't done that. It's not a big deal. That 1 point won't make or break you in this class. But when they do an audit of your grades at the end of 605, if you haven't submitted that city training, that's going to pop up that it does need to be completed and logged into Blackboard. It will catch you. And whoever your clinical coach is in 605, they will be telling you, did anybody mention this in 602? Did you get a chance to do it? It doesn't show up on your transcript. You need to take care of that now. So that it won't stop you out of 602, but it will stop you from finishing up in 605. Okay, last thing.
Can I ask a quick question?
That's exactly where I was headed, Nadine. What questions do you have? And then the next thing I'm going to say after Nadine is through is, if something happens and you want to Zoom or for me to call you, send me an email over the next 14 days and we'll do something before we actually meet in 2 weeks. Nadine.
So my quick question is I understand when your grades are due, so that's all due by like August 1st or 3rd.
It's the 3rd.
What about the 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the APTEL? When does that last possible minute
Okay.
that's able to get over to the evaluators?
Okay. That is a clinical coach question, but my guess is somewhere from 10 days to 1 week, I'm getting ready to go by again, from 10 days to about a week, that needs to get off your desk and computer to the evaluator. But that, I don't know if y'all did this in 601, but your clinical coach is vital in saying it looks good. I think you've met the components of the rubric. You've identified all 4 of those tasks. Let's go ahead and get it evaluated. But that's a clinical coach question, and it's usually between a week and 10 days before the semester is over. Those people have been told, they know the deal. They know that the work's going to rush in toward the end within about a week, but they need to not let it sit on their computer. They've been told to make it happen, read it, and move on. And you know that you need to score at least a 3 or higher on that unit, that task. Good question.
Okay.
What is the turnaround number of days? Clinical coach question, it needs a clinical coach answer, but I'm thinking 7 to 10 days. Because I don't know how many evaluators they have, but I'm sure they're 5 or 6, and they're getting stuff from other classes and the other 602s and 3s, 4s, or 5s, but they need to have an opportunity to look at it. But like Dr. Yuri and Dr. Neal has said, if it gets sent to you on Monday, by Wednesday or Friday at the latest, it needs to be graded and moved on, sent back for comments and adjustments, and that makes you have to jump back in the game or to issue it a 3 or higher. They need some time. I mean, it wouldn't be fair to you, Nadine, if they sent it back to you on the 3rd or the 2nd and said, oh, by the way, you left this out. Then what are you going to do then? Everybody needs a little time to wrap that one up. But good question. Good question. As you're working in communication with your clinical coach, check back and say, this was mentioned. What is the absolute cutoff that I need to get this with your approval off of me and onto the evaluator? Great question. All right. Anything happens in the next 14 days, that's a long time. Long time, send me an email that if you want to call, give me the phone number and the time and date. If you want to Zoom, tell me what date and what time. Okay? Any more questions? That was a good one. All right. Do not be a stranger as we approach over the next 2 weeks. I need to hear from you. And in fact, after I double check about this, trying to fill in the gaps on the peer reviews, either the Zoom or the written, I'll send you an email. But if I don't want you to sit there and be thinking about something, what about this? What about that? What about that? Let me know, or your clinical coach know. Okay? I mean, as we started out this journey, I told you it's only 10 weeks. Well, keep in mind, we've already sort of slid past 5. The clock's ticking. I mean, this is not a 15-week class. During the summer, they're all 10. So that's why it's a little rushed, a little more picked up in the intensity. It just so happened that the 10-week classes occurred during the summer. And if you're a traditionalist, you would have wrapped up your school year and had plenty of time to do this around your family schedule and all that stuff. But everybody doesn't work 10 months or 10 and a half months. Everybody's, that sort of changed too. But keep working like you are. And for those that I have serious concerns, that would be those, and if you can tell, you're going to know who you are by this last comment. If you have a total of 25 points out of 101 this week, I am concerned. I am concerned. And, you know, I can only beg, plead, borrow, steal, and whine, but I need you to kick it up a notch if you're in the 25 or less group, and let's make it happen. I need everybody to move. I'm sort of stingy, and I'm sort of jealous. I want everybody to move to 603. I don't want any stragglers. I want everybody to move, and let's keep you moving through the step and to finish up on time. To me, that's important. Last question, anybody? Okay, I will process this video, and while this is churning on this one, I will go over to the desktop and see if I can mess with some of your work and open it back up to see. If I can open it up where you had 2 Zooms or 2 written peer reviews, I'll handle the points. If I can't handle it, I'll have to have you do it. And if that's the case, I'm going to send you an email either way. I don't like those things. Well, if you don't hear from me, everything's fine. I don't like that. Time's moving right along. You need to hear from me either way. I can fix it. I can't fix it. I need you to go back. Last, anything else? Okay. I'll see you in 2 weeks, which will be, and don't get out there and get crazy blowing up fireworks. I don't need to hear that mess. That will be on the 11th of July. On the 11th of July, I'll put that in the memo too, and I'll just see y'all then. I continue. Now, I told you, last thing, I keep adding on. I told you once before, I check my email and I do your grades every morning. Well, as we're getting near the end of this process, I'm checking them 2 or 3 times. Some of you put some work up at 4 o'clock, and I graded it then. So I picked up the tempo because I don't like stuff out there spinning and holding you up. Therefore, if I'm spinning in that direction, I need you to sort of do the same. Okay, I'll see you guys on the 11th. Wait for the video. Bye now.